So how was the big trip? I don't want to talk about it. Well, what happened to your nose?
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, you got to give me something. Come on, how was the wedding? Was the bride radiant?
She was.
Well, she found out Elaine slept with the groom. Oh, that sounds juicy. So, I got to go to the bathroom, but I want to hear all about it.
You know, I didn't go to the bathroom the entire time we were in India.
I can't believe we went all the way to India for a wedding.
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV. From musicals to bottle episodes to stories told backwards. I'm David Arnold.
Put it in the vault. I'm Derek B. Gale.
Everyone knows the combination of that vault, Derek, and it is too early in this recording.
Too early in the morning. Actually, it's like afternoon for me, but you know what? Feels like
yeah, it was 6 hours later, and you don't need to know what's in this cup, Derek.
Yeah, true.
But this episode, we're talking about the infamous episode, The Betrayal from Seinfeld. If you're not familiar with Seinfeld, it is a sitcom created by Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld that originally aired on NBC from July 1989 to May 1998, with a total of 9 seasons consisting of 180 episodes. Its ensemble cast stars Seinfeld as a fictionalized version of himself and focuses on the personal life with 3 of his friends: best friend George Costanza, Jason Alexander, former girlfriend Elaine Bennis, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and neighbor from across the hall, Cosmo Kramer Michael Richards. The show focuses on the regular happenings of everyday life, often described as a show about nothing, but Seinfeld says of this description, the pitch for the show, the real pitch when Larry and I went to NBC, was that we wanted to show how a comedian gets his material. And you can really feel that in the first 7 seasons when Jerry's stand-up is all over the place. And blissfully, we are here in season 9.
You know what? I'm glad you said it, because that was also my thought. It is very funny. It's very funny. You know, we've done a podcast on Seinfeld before. The very first episode of Gimmicks was a Seinfeld episode. And that episode was from season 2, which is it was such a different time in the show's life from covering something from the final season instead. I don't know. It's Seinfeld's history is so interesting because I feel like because it's been remembered as like, you know, one of the pinnacles of sitcom television, you kind of forget that there are pretty distinct eras of the show. And like by a lot of metrics at the time, like season 8 and 9 were like Larry David's left. Everyone thought the show should have ended at season 7. These are kind of like the postscript seasons where it's like, should have been canceled. Wow, it's getting really weird now. This show isn't what it used to be. And yet now by 2024, it's sort of like so many of the most memorable episodes ever come from the last 2 seasons, you know?
Yeah.
So like this one, I think we're going to talk about it, that it's like, wasn't well received then, cult favorite episode, like one of the most well-known episodes of the show now. And it's very funny to like think about that, of how different it is, you know?
Yeah. So, Derek, were you watching Seinfeld live at this time? I feel like you would just be a hair young for Seinfeld.
But I was watching the hell out of it, though. I
mean, really?
I think
okay.
We talked about it. Yeah, I mean, this was a show my parents really liked. So it was always on TV. And, you know, at a certain point, I don't remember exactly when it was, but it kind of was a Simpsons type thing where it was running in syndication, you know, while it was airing new episodes. So you could kind of get caught up on the early years of the show while the later years are going on. Like for me, I remember it would air in syndication either right before or right after The Simpsons, which is a perfect like back-to-back like 1-2 punch of like a great 90s comedy. So I think by the final seasons, this is what, 97. I mean, I think I said it on our original episode that like I remember watching like the series finale live when it aired, and like the clip show episode before it, and like the behind the scenes special that was also a clip show, just clip shows out the wazoo. But I feel like I probably watched this one live too. I don't have a clear memory of it, but I remember knowing the backwards episode was coming. So I'm sure that I did watch this one probably when it aired. And knew about it because I was definitely watching these later seasons when they were live.
That's wild because we were watching it too, and it was the ticket into acceptance with adolescent boys in my high school and probably middle school as well. And I remember thinking that this was appointment television because I needed to know what to say to the people in my social groups and social strata in order to fit in. And I mean, to the point, but we were too young to be understanding these concepts correctly. Yeah. So like we called each other sponge-worthy, which is just, that means like fuckable. And I mean, some of them, sure, but like, no, in general, I didn't really think about my classmates that way.
That's so real though. That's such a middle school thing, especially. I mean, it's a kid thing in general, but especially like a middle school thing. Cause I think that's because like Austin Powers was so hot with like 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds making fucking these sex jokes that they don't understand, you know, like,
yeah,
I think Seinfeld kind of fits into that grain as well, like because a lot like The Simpsons, like the rhythms of Seinfeld jokes are very funny. The things that they say sound funny even if you don't understand what they mean or what they're talking about. Kramer sliding in the door, doing his crazy shenanigans. Kids love that shit. Like he's the worst character when you watch him as an adult and everyone else is funnier than he is. But as a kid, he is the star of that show, and every time someone yells something funny, you know, like at Serenity Now, they don't know, you kid watching it, like they don't know the concept of that episode, but that's just a funny collection, like couple of words to say. Of course you're going to repeat it. Festivus sounds funny, so you're going to say it's when it's Christmas time, you're going to say you're celebrating Festivus. You don't really understand what that means, but it just sounds funny, you know.
Or I'll just tell you, as someone who came out when Seinfeld was big, the number of, not that there's anything wrong with that I got but of course, and that felt very nice. I think now I'm kind of like, that was kind of shitty, but at the time that was at least shorthand for like, I understand what this is, and it's not for me, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just wild. I do think that if I were to explore my roots as coming out as queer, I think that I've resonated more with Elaine's catchphrases. Probably was a big trigger for me. I mean, the vault, you used it as your opener, but like I think about the vault every time someone tells me a secret.
Put it in the vault.
I think, put it in the vault.
Yeah, it's so good. No, I think growing up in general, but especially growing up queer, like I think you realize that you've reached a level of maturation when you recognize that Elaine is the best character on the show. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
Like she's the best character and also the worst person out of the four. Like both 100%. Of those, which is 100% really incredible. And a thing that I don't think you recognize when you're watching it. I don't think it was recognized at the time, and I don't think when you're watching it the first time. But then with the more it's like the things, the more you think about it, it's like those are the two most truest things about the show.
Yeah. Love it. I will say I bought these on DVD in college. They were in the sad CD binder of DVDs. I just had to make priorities, and Buffy got the big one, and Frasier got the big one too. Sadly, Seinfeld fell to the small one, and watched them all. Loved the commentaries. There was a lot to enjoy. These were good DVDs.
Yeah. A better time.
But I hadn't really engaged with them until the pandemic. And we had some, not on purpose, we had somebody house sit for us because we went out, we did a road trip up to Michigan, and we were like, just watch whatever you want on streaming, like do whatever you need. And she started Seinfeld, but only got to like episode 2. And I was like, oh yeah, we can fucking watch Seinfeld. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think it was in that like horrendous aspect ratio on Netflix that was God,
it's so bad.
I mean, we watched it, but like hard to watch.
Yeah, I always think of the pothole joke. It's like The Simpsons has the Duff Beer Factory joke, and then Seinfeld has the pothole joke that are destroyed by the aspect ratio.
I was delighted to find that the version I had access to was correctly ratioed now.
Good.
Well, this episode, we're talking about season 9, episode 8, The Betrayal. The original air date on this one was November 20th, 1997. And the synopsis per IMDb: Elaine and the gang head to India to attend a wedding. Jerry betrays George by having sex with his prospective girlfriend. Kramer grapples with a malignant wish.
Wow, malignant wish.
Malignant.
I love that phrasing. That's so good.
Just a lot going on this one. No mention in the synopsis that this is the backwards episode, which was a little surprising when I pasted this in.
Actually very funny. Actually, that didn't even occur to me.
Yeah. The writers
Yeah.
finally got their wish.
Yeah.
This one was written by Peter Melman and David Mandel. Mandel wrote on 7 episodes of Seinfeld. He was an executive producer and writer for Curb Your Enthusiasm and the showrunner for Veep. So he stuck around with the family for a little while. And I didn't know what to do with this information, but he was the host of Dave and Steve's Video Game Explosion, which aired on TBS as part of the Burly Bear Network, which is a thing I had never heard of, but sounded right up our alley. Derek?
I'm sure that it sounds like it is, and it probably is the most misogynistic thing on the face of the planet.
It was a network that was primarily selling to college and university television stations to air their comedy specials. Kids in the Hall was aired on this.
I mean, that's cool. I wouldn't call them burly bears in any regard.
There was no Mandel is a little bit. Mandel does it for me, but there were no burly bears. They rebranded to Burly TV. They were bought out by the National Lampoon after a brief stint with Lorne Michaels. It's, you know what? It was fun. It was a fun little detour.
Sure. It does make me wish there. You know what? I have seen other Burly Bear TV things on the internet before that probably live up to the name better. So
yeah, probably a lot better. Melman worked on all 9 seasons of Seinfeld. He didn't start as a writer. The first season was really just Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld.
Sure.
But he wrote 21 episodes, including The Sponge and The Yada Yada. So like some big names. Also baffling to me that Deborah Messing was the Yada Yada woman. That was a huge shock going back and watching that episode.
Yeah, pretty wild. I mean, that's the story of this show, though. Like every other episode, there's a guest star who would become one of the biggest celebrities or actors ever that just show up as like one of Jerry's girlfriends or something.
I know, I hate that for them, but Melman has left Seinfeld at this point. It was working on his own pilot. It got picked up, 26 episodes, and then wasn't renewed. And he has a lot of hateful things to say about ABC, and maybe don't look them up because they're a little problematic.
Gotcha.
But there he is. And then this episode was directed by Andy Ackerman. Andy's the primary director on the show after Tom Chirone's left. He directed every episode in season 6 forward, except for The Comeback in season 8. And he would later direct episodes of Curb and every episode of The New Adventures of Old Christine.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realize there was that connection there. Interesting.
Yeah. And he is like a wild workhorse director. Like he is still giving it his all, like 20 credits a year. And we love that for him.
Yeah, good for him. Well, the gimmick of this episode, this is a very, very famous one. We've kind of alluded to it. This is very, very commonly just referred to as the backwards episode. Pretty unique to this show. Honestly, I can't think of very many cases in TV that have done this, really. So essentially, it's what it sounds like. The events play out in reverse chronological order. They're still divided into scenes, so you're not watching an entire episode of backwards talk or anything like that. Though, you know what, I could see like a David Lynch type of gimmick episode doing that. But essentially, it's like every single scene that you would see in a Seinfeld episode just played in reversed order. And they do include little title cards with how much time, precedes it. So you can still at least keep track of how much time there is, but it ranges between like seconds to literal years by the end of the episode. So like the years thing is more of like just kind of an end joke by the end of it. But the majority of this is a pretty typical Seinfeld story, a relatively simple one in terms of the plot structure. It just is being told backwards, and then they are able to sort of play jokes, set up and pay off for jokes in a very particular way because it's played backwards, and also a little bit of a mystery element as well, because it starts off and you don't know what's going on, and then you see the episode plays out and explains everything that's happening. So
yeah, you'd be forgiven for launching this up and just thinking they're doing an in media res thing, but they really commit to it. And that's what I think sets this apart from other, I bet you wonder how I got here situation, because you really are just doing this. And I will say, and we'll talk about them when we do the beat by beat, but a lot of the like 3-second earlier jokes are probably the easiest thing for you to think of, but they did work for me, at least, I'll say.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's what makes this episode special, though, because I do think that, like, I know there's on the season 9 DVD, you can play the events in chronological order, but I think it's a fun thing if you just want to see it out of curiosity, but it's not as funny because I do think it's not just that this episode is just an episode of Seinfeld played in reverse. Like, it is that they do build it to be an episode that does play better in reverse because the joke punchlines are better if you hear the setup after the punchline. When it's reversed, it's just sort of like, Jerry got Elaine drunk and then she told a secret, which is like, okay, there's no joke there. It's when you hear it in reverse and it's this sort of like, there's a secret that was revealed. It was revealed because she was drunk. And then you get the scene of Jerry starting to get her drunk. Like that's so much funnier, you know, even though it's a pretty straightforward premise there.
Well, and even the ones they do that bookend that take a long time to get to, like George painting his Timberlands black, pays off at the very end because the woman he met while he was wearing them and they make him taller.
Right.
Which is that is a George plot line from any episode of this series.
Yeah.
But the way that it's told using this mechanism makes it so much funnier.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's kind of part of the genius of this episode is that they wrote something that was like, you know, if you just were like, tell me the most basic Seinfeld premise you can. A lot of the stuff from this episode is like that. Like the India wedding part, that's a weird thing that we'll have to talk about. But like the basic story of like Jerry slept with George's girlfriend, like, sure.
News at 9. Yeah.
Like, well, okay, fine. Like it's like if you ask someone to pitch you a Seinfeld premise, that's one of the ones on the short list you probably could do. And George is wearing shoes to make himself look taller. Sure, whatever.
Right.
It really is only because it's played backwards that suddenly it feels special and funny. And I don't think that's a knock against it. I think it's a knock against it. I think that's important to this episode that it's a very clear, understandable Seinfeld premise that anyone who is the barest familiarity of the show can latch onto, because then it makes it a lot easier to understand it going backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. But I think there was enough demand that they did put that feature on the DVD.
Sure.
I watched, I don't know, 3 minutes of it and I was like, okay, great. I got it.
Well, it's like, it's an episode that opens with like Elaine opens her mailbox and says like, I'm not going to India. And it's like, what a terrible start to an episode of television. Like,
yeah. It's, I understand that some people might enjoy that, but
it's fun. It's a fun idea.
You were
Everyone would be curious about it. And
you were right. It was a novelty.
And then it proves why this episode is special because it only works one way.
Exactly. It was just a novelty. And that's why, like another thing I watched for this, I was like, I get it. I'm done.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting about this one, though, is I think I alluded to this earlier, like the sort of weirdness of this being a very late era Seinfeld, literally the final season, is that I do think in some ways, I don't want to say that the knives were out for it, but people were more ready to attack the show because it was in season 9, because it was taking bigger, weirder swings, you know, being a show that had been on for 9 years and had kind of exhausted all the typical stories you could tell, because Larry David was, you know, famously not a part of it anymore. Like he wasn't completely divorced from it, but he wasn't the head writer of the show anymore. You know, all of those things mean that people, fans and like critics and stuff, were going to be ready to like criticize it for being a show that had run out of steam the second that they could. And this is one of those cases where like we remember it as a beloved episode now, but at the time it really wasn't. It was a pretty negative reception. A lot of that, I think, they've talked about this in like oral histories and stuff since then, but like this was one that was very, very heavily promoted. The writers specifically were like, we don't want you to promote this as the backwards episode because part of the fun should be the surprise of it and the confusion and the mystery of it. And then the realization over time of what's happening. And NBC is like, this is too fucking weird though. We need to hold the hands of our audience.
And now, Jerry Seinfeld explains the concept behind this week's all-new Seinfeld. Jerry?
It's crazy. You start at the end of the show, but we just keep going earlier and earlier and earlier until you get to the beginning. So, in other words, you'll see like a God bless you.
Bless you.
And then 20 seconds earlier, you see someone with a lollipop, and it keeps getting bigger because we're going backwards. And we're one of the few people that can actually do their job backwards. Garbage men, funeral directors, there's no way that these people can work backwards. You have to watch it. It's very unusual.
This is a Seinfeld you cannot miss. Following a full hour of Friends this Thursday on NBC.
To be fair, Seinfeld was a huge show. A lot of people were watching it, and I do think a lot of casual audience viewers who aren't in tune with like high concept episodes of TV might be a little confused about what's going on. I think that is a fair thing to say. But I also think that Seinfeld did prove that general audiences are also smarter than they were often, especially in like the early 90s, smarter than they were often given credit for, because Seinfeld would do some weird high concept things or have bizarrely consistent continuity and like deep references and stuff that like general audiences, more than just hardcore fans, were understanding and keeping up with, and it was still a hit in spite of that. So like, I both understand NBC's mindset, but also they were in the wrong in not trusting their audience. And so because of that, they were hyping it as the big backwards episode. You got to see it. It's going to be, I think they were specifically promoting it as a new classic up on the level of like the contest and all of these famous episodes. And so people are obviously going into it with the highest expectations. They already know what the premise of the episode is. And so now, instead of it being like a fun, weird surprise and experiment, now it's sort of like, well, they have to 100,000% nail this or else we're going to be disappointed. And if it doesn't blow you out of the water, you're going to think it's disappointing. And that's how people felt, was that it was disappointing, when the reality is that like, this is a fucking hard thing to do. So the fact that they did it at all should already kind of be impressive enough,
100%. And so you got shitty little pre-teen adolescents like me who are going and being like, my next ammunition for social climbing is coming up. And what am I supposed to quote from this? Like, drop dead. Like, that's the only thing that a teenage boy can take from this. This is just not, it is not a new classic, except for like people who love TV, and there it delivered. And I didn't need the promos to tell me it was a backwards episode. Like that's kind of the disappointing part of the promo, but I get it. I understand being a television executive is very difficult. So we should throw them a bone, Derek.
All that said, it's a cool idea for an episode. It's not like super common on TV, but also it's like not unheard of that other shows have done this, right? Like Seinfeld's probably the most famous version of it, but like ER, Star Trek Voyager, Venture Brothers, Malcolm in the Middle, they've all done some variations of a backwards episode. I'm sure, on all of those are shows. We've done Voyager before, but ER, Venture Brothers, and Malcolm in the Middle are all shows that I have wanted to do on gimmicks at some point or another. It's just a matter of what episodes we choose for them. I mean, we've got a possible premise, a possible pick for them right here, so it's a thing that's been done. And we've even covered on Sliders, technically a section, like the third section of that episode was technically a backwards episode. We kind of talk about it. It's not exactly like what this episode does. It's a little weird, and they have a sci-fi fun with that concept, but like even that does a little bit of a time reversal thing in the episode.
Yeah, even the Voyager one is like identical to that third act in Sliders. I think probably the closest that we got to the Seinfeld was the Venture Brothers episode of really committing to this bit.
I don't remember the Malcolm in the Middle one.
It's about their pranks escalating and escalating and escalating. So it's really just I'm going to get the letter wrong, but it's just the B or C story between the two younger brothers, and it's fine for it to be one thing, but the rest of the episode is normal. So it's not really this. It's just the closest I could find,
That's why I didn't remember it, because that's the thing. Malcolm in the Middle is a show that did do some really great high concept stuff. So that episode, probably not what we would eventually do on gimmicks at any point. Because there's some really good ones where they really do commit to it.
No, if you're like, I only want to listen to backwards episodes, like, sorry, you're going to be famining for a little bit here on the pod. But speaking of backwards episodes, and that you brought up David Lynch earlier, while trying to find out what other things had done backwards things, I came across this cigarette commercial that tells a story in reverse, but it's David Lynch. So it doesn't make any sense backwards. It doesn't make any sense forwards. Rain comes out of the sky. Fish come out of the sky. Some people shoot the fish. It's very David Lynch. It is.
That rules.
It's a very David Lynch experience. And then the cigarette pops up, and I was like, I have never heard of this cigarette in my entire life.
That's so funny. I'm watching it right now. I actually didn't see that. When I made the David Lynch reference earlier, I hadn't actually seen this in the notes. So that was a total coincidence that I pulled that
He's everywhere.
out.
He's everywhere, Derek. He's everywhere. You can't escape him.
Yeah, I was literally listening to a podcast about David Lynch right before we were recording, actually. Funny enough. So, you know what? Great guy. I'm glad. He should be everywhere. Yeah, I've never heard of this. I've never heard of the cigarette before. That's so funny. Parisienne?
It kind of looked like a parliament, and then I paused it, and I was like, "That's not a parliament." Like what?
What the fuck is that?
Might
Not
be
that
foreign.
I'm like,
Who
not
knows?
that I'm like in tune with cigarette culture or anything, but like,
Seriously.
weird. Okay.
So this episode is based on a Harold Pinter play named Betrayal, which uses the same gimmick. The fiance in this episode of Seinfeld is named Pinter as tribute to the playwright. More accurately, per Millman, the episode is based on the film Betrayal, which stars Jeremy Irons and Ben Kingsley, like 40-year-old younger Ben Kingsley. Hello.
Yeah.
But admiring Ben Kingsley is about as far as I got into this before being like, okay, I get it. It is 9 scenes that are told in reverse chronological order. So it's cool. For a film, it would be great on stage. The film was panned because it was a little slow, and it's a little slow.
I don't think Pinter stuff is easy to adapt to film. I think Pinter kind of really only works on stage.
Yeah.
I would argue.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie, and I've never seen a production of Betrayal either. I would love to, because I think I would enjoy it. I like Pinter stuff. I've been in a Pinter play before, but not.
Oh,
this
what were
one.
you in?
I was in The Collection in college. I liked that one a lot, being in it. I don't remember much of what happens in it. It's another, weird infidelity story, because Pinter loves that shit. But
He does.
My biggest anecdote that I always tell from that show, I was playing, like, I forget his name. Maybe it was the character's name Bill or William or something like that. I don't know, some white guy name. But like he was the loser in the story. I think I was called a slum slug a couple of times. And there's a point when the character gets like knives thrown at him. And the funny thing is, the actor who was tasked with throwing knives at me was the worst actor you could possibly ask to do that. He's a good actor,
Good actor,
but not
bad
good for
knife thrower.
Physical
Okay.
things like throwing knives. And so, rehearsing that, I was bleeding at one point, because even they weren't prop knives, they were just dull actual kitchen knives that were thrown. And at one point he accidentally threw 2 at once at me, which wasn't supposed to happen, hit my hand, and then, cut the skin on my finger. I thought it was hilarious, to be honest. And it's like, of course this is going to be how it goes. Like, why wouldn't it?
Wow.
Once we actually performed it, it was fine, but the rehearsals were a little rough. Not the safest set I've ever been on, but it made for a good memory.
Derek, I love this. I love that we got to experience this together.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a good show. It was a good show, though. I can't say that many bad things about having someone throw knives at me, because I also like fired a prop gun that wasn't mine backstage one time by accident. So like, I've done horrible things with stage weapons as well.
Wow.
Just throwing that out there. I don't blame him that much, because especially when you're in college, you're fucking stupid.
Oh
So,
yeah. But you're also durable. If you do it when you're 40, it's a lot harder.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I did want to point out that Mandel, in this like oral history that I'm going to be talking about a little bit, was quoted saying, "My only disappointment is we never did find out what Harold Pinter thought of this episode, whether he liked it or disliked it. I would have even enjoyed a 'how dare you, you'll be hearing from my lawyers,' but that never happened." And so I looked up, when was this interview, and then when was Pinter interviewed by other things, and I only found one. And Pinter was interviewed by Charlie Rose. Do not watch this video, Derek. Okay. He does not talk about this, unfortunately. He does talk about the play and his infidelity and how he just loves infidelity. And then he tears into Charlie Rose about America in the Gulf War.
Wow.
Like,
okay.
30 minutes of the 1 hour interview is him being like, Americans suck and you suck, Charlie Rose. Suck it. I'm, a fucking playwright. Get it.
You know what? What a king.
Didn't expect it. Truly and honestly, did not expect it. I really just thought, he's going to talk about the Seinfeld thing, because that's the sort of thing Charlie Rose would bring up and be like,
Sure.
There's a Seinfeld episode based on your play. But unfortunately, they didn't. So Mendel, your answer is not given. We don't know what he thought of this.
Is amazing. That kind of rules.
Yeah. Yeah. So not worth it for the betrayal answer. Totally worth it for the second half of the interview.
That's so funny. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we got some other great things from that oral history, though. Mandel said, heading into Seinfeld's ninth season, we didn't really know that it was the final season, but being that it had been on for many years, they got really excited about the idea to break format. During season 9, Jerry met together with him and Will Vinton, who did the California Raisins, to talk about making a claymation episode.
Oh my God.
But they had just done 2 minutes on Home Improvement with claymation, and they were like, we can't bring this to Jerry if it's been on Home Improvement. We cannot possibly. And I kind of love that.
Yeah, and I don't know that a claymation episode of Seinfeld would. I don't know that I see that.
No.
I feel like Seinfeld stuff works with playing with structure and plot structure and story structure, but playing with the actual medium, I don't know if that works for this show. I think that's a different type of high concept that I think it would be, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I guess because the show is built so specifically just on either character interaction and like minutiae, or like wildly convoluted stories that like interplay together. Like, you don't watch Seinfeld for like the visuals of it. You know what I mean? I don't. I think I'm kind of glad that they didn't waste time and money on it, because I can't imagine that would have worked out for them.
But I loved that Mandel was like, I get excited about anything that breaks format. And when they called me for this, I was like, yeah, I'll admit it. I love a gimmick. That is his actual quote.
I
was like,
love that.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. You know what? That's why the podcast is called Gimmicks. But I also think it's kind of cool, though, to like, you know, the whole thing circle around this is that this is season 9. This is the last season of a long running popular sitcom. And I think a lot of sitcoms, especially when they run for that long, it's just a known thing that they just kind of run out of steam at a certain point.
Right.
And I kind of love that Seinfeld, like, they had probably run out of steam in the sense that like they'd really told all the most normal stories that they could about characters by this point. But instead of just sort of repeating stuff or like, you know, introducing a new hot character that joins the crew or something like that, it's like they just go for just weird shit. They go for gimmicky high concept episodes. Like, you compare this to something like, I know it's a different situation, but like season 9 of X-Files, for example, it's like so many of the problems of that season, Mulder or not involved in that, I think what makes that season particularly rough to get through is that it seems like no one is trying anymore.
Yeah.
There's like nothing interesting there. Like even their high concept episodes are not like really high concept at all. It's just like you've either seen it before or it feels like everybody's kind of bored. And like you don't get that with Seinfeld. No. I think you can say you don't like it getting weird and maybe think it's better before it gets weird. But the fact that it gets weird at all makes it interesting at the very least. And, you know, I would still argue you get some of the best episodes of the show out of that.
Completely agree. And it's so weird that we've talked about 2 episodes, one in season 2, one in season 9, and you can feel how much more money is available to them throughout this episode. Like, it's just like no one said no to anything in this episode.
There's just a fucking elephant in this episode. It's just like casual. Like, you read about it, sort of like, yeah, we just got an elephant and it was fine. People had no issues with it and it was great.
Can we have an elephant? And they were like, would you like 2 elephants? Like, no, one's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think one of the questions of something like this is like, how do you write something like this? They say in that oral history that they did beat it out forward. I know that it's because they're making story beats, but I like the phrase of beat it out for this.
Oh my God, Derek.
They beat it out forward and then laid it out backwards. So they did come up with like a forward story initially of how it would make sense. And then we're sort of like, here's how it would play backwards, and then kind of fine tuned it from there. Cause it's like, you can't just flip the story backwards. You have to also make it work so jokes could work. So they rewrote it so then they could sort of end a scene, and then that would throw to a scene that was actually earlier to sort of pay it off in reverse. And they say some of the best stuff in the episode came from the fine tuning of it. So a lot of these like little jokes that are just kind of either background things or just like funny little business, like Kramer with a lollipop, Elaine with the booze, that stuff wasn't really part of the original story necessarily. That comes from being like, oh, we can fit, this is a joke. This will make a good reverse joke. We'll fit that in. Runners like George's boots and the bathrooms, like that stuff that comes later after they've kind of figured out the whole story. So they say more so than a traditional script, each draft really just get better and better as each version took more advantage of the gimmick, essentially.
Yeah. But story beats, they were pretty much locked in from the first draft, according to Mendel. The only thing that was changed in a very big way was the start of Kramer's story. The way that they originally wanted to do it was to show a tombstone that Kramer was dead and work backwards from there. And the network told them that it was too big. And per Mendel, quote, "They were fucking wrong. They're fucking idiots, and I will never forgive them." And again, like, this is like my favorite person in the world.
I agree though, because I felt very validated reading this, because I think the snowball thing with Kramer,
It's too
sucks.
small. It's too small.
I don't think it's good. I think it's just, yeah. Like, there's funny stuff in the Kramer story, and the deeper you get into it, I do think the funnier it is. But I think out of all of this, the worst opening of any of these stories, Kramer gets hit in the face with a snowball.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Who
a thing that
cares?
happens to him all the time. I feel like that just feels like a normal Kramer thing. Like, why wouldn't he? You know? So that's like, yeah. If you're gonna go, like, they go big by going to fucking India in this story. Why wouldn't you go big with a fucking Kramer death fake out? Why not?
I think the tombstone also would have been that sort of shock and awe after knowing that it was the backwards episode and that being pumped to like 11. To start with a tombstone would have been exciting, and then to reveal that he had faked his own death, and that was the only way he could get around this whole birthday curse thing.
Right.
I don't know. I sad to not see that come to fruition. Excited anytime somebody who makes art swears to an interview.
Oh, I agree.
Especially in oral history. Just love it. Just love it.
Good shit.
My last little fun thing is that the casting for Nina has kind of a fun background story. In season 7, Justine Micheli auditioned for a role that eventually went to Janine Garofalo, and like, nobody can complain about losing a role to Janine Garofalo, right? Like, that's just, things happen.
Yeah.
She was cast, but the night before taping the episode, they got the call that they were going in a different direction. That's kind of shitty, but whatever.
Yeah.
Seinfeld called her, left a message on her machine. She still has the tape to this day, and at least when they did the interview, and promised they would bring her back onto the show, and that he was deeply apologetic, and this was the payoff for that.
The Janine Garofalo thing, that was the Bizarro Jerry that she was playing.
Yeah, that was the anti-Jerry.
And you kind of need a familiar face, like someone striking for that. It would have been weird to have, like, this actor is fine. I think she's good in this episode. But like, and I can even see, like, when you see her and Jerry interacting in this one, you can sort of see how she does seem like the female version, the gender swap version of Jerry Seinfeld. I do see that energy in her, but unfortunately, I also think she's a little bit too forgettable for what should be like a very important brief scene in an episode, you know, and you kind of need a bigger name for that.
In mid-90s, if I had a chance to put Janine Garofalo in anything, that's like her at her most powerful. Like, I'm not saying no to that. Like,
absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd replace the entire 4 characters with Janine Garofalo if I had the chance.
Fun. What that would be an interesting show to see. Like the Good Place Janet's episode with Janine Garofalo. Like, that's the entire premise of a show. Fun idea.
Listen, make it happen, Hollywood. That's how I'll come back to Seinfeld. That's how you can reinvigorate yourself. Good Lord.
Incredible.
We start with a Castle Rock logo and the Castle Rock stinger. This got my first big laugh, Derek. This was hilarious.
It's good. I mean, that's the cleverness, though, because like, I think that that would be something that I could see some people feeling was risky to do. But I also think that it is also something that works especially well, given that this is season 9 of a show that everyone is intimately familiar with. So everyone knows that Castle Rock logo. And it's like everyone associates it with Seinfeld. Like, what other fucking shows even have that logo, you know?
That's a good question. Yeah.
So everyone associates that with it. So it almost works as well as a Seinfeld title card would anyway. So I think not every show could do that, I think, especially now, because, you know, if you're watching something on Netflix, it skips to the next episode before you can even see the production logo. So like, you know, but I think it works in this case because everyone was intimately familiar with it. And it feels striking to see that. Yeah.
I felt like I got a big laugh out of it because I do this podcast and like I am a TV nerd, but I think you're right. I think enough people, like I think if you started a Simpsons episode with the Gracie film shush thing, it would deliver the same thing. Those are like iconic pictures. The lighthouse from Castle Rock, the person in the theater for Gracie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, then we get the Seinfeld outro music plays over a still image the way an episode would end while the executive producer credits roll, and then the scene begins. Like Derek said, the scene is in forward trajectory, so we're not backwards. George asks Elaine if she is going to sleep with him, but Elaine says they just got off a 23-hour plane ride.
So, Elaine, are you going to sleep with me or what?
George, I just got off a 23-hour plane ride. I'm too tired to even vomit at the thought.
Fine. I'll ask you again when you're rested.
Oh, I'm sure she'll come around.
I hope so, for your sake.
I said I was sorry.
You can stuff your sorries in a sack, mister.
Would you please stop saying that?
Kramer comes in, asks them about their trip, but nobody wants to talk about it. They just got back from a wedding in India. Elaine supped with the groom. George didn't use the bathroom the whole trip. And Jerry can't believe they went all the way to India for a wedding.
Yeah, I think it's a great setup for all of this because you get, barring one thing, you get everything you need. You get George wanting to sleep with Elaine for some reason, Elaine with her nose injury, like, you know, and then establishing that there is a wedding that they have just come from, or they establish the wedding and they establish India that they're coming from, but they don't say who it's for. They don't say why they went to India for a wedding. Really the only major plot in this episode they don't establish is Kramer's, which I think really comes from, it should have started with Kramer's gravestone, and that would have been perfect, and then they would have covered everything, because as it stands, you really don't start Kramer's story until a little bit into it when he gets hit in the face with the snowball, which is not a great start to that story.
Well, and again, you'd be forgiven to think that this might be a different type of gimmick because maybe they're all going to tell, this is going to be Rashomon, and they're all going to tell a different thing to Kramer. And so you could have used him in that device role, but instead, no, this is like totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, you know, they mention India. So they immediately cut from that scene to one day earlier in India. I think we need to talk about the India of it all, just like kind of get it out of the way.
I'm sorry, Derek.
When
I was watching this, I was like, ouch, God, I forgot all this shit.
I forgot. And it's frustrating. And there was like there's already, pieces you can read about this from like actual like South Asians talking about this stuff. So, I'm not going to say that we're going to be the end all be all statement on this, but I do think if you watch it, it's pretty obvious that there's some problems with the India thing, unfortunately. I think really, honestly, I'm of two minds about it, because I think in the broadest like comedy sense for the purposes of the episode, it is wild to have the Seinfeld characters going to another country anyway. And of all countries, you wouldn't expect these Seinfeld characters to ever go to India for any reason, because why would they? There's these fucking white bread New Yorkers, like, right? Like, they might go to France, but like they wouldn't do anything where they'd have to be immersed in any culture that's too different from their own. Right. So that being I see how they get to India, because it's kind of like the least likely place that you would see Jerry Seinfeld and Elaine and George taking any sort of vacation or trip to. I get that, because that just wouldn't be in character for them. So it makes sense for that to be the swing. And I'll also say a point in their favor, everybody's costumes, beautiful. Everyone looks amazing.
Background cast is perfect. I mean, they cast Indians. They did the outfits correctly. It was even correct wedding garb. Like, good job on all. And having an elephant, that's like, the elephant is like the least offensive part, because elephants are part of traditional weddings. Like, that's normal.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of funny that it's sort of like, of course, we're in India. There's an elephant. There's the typical music that you always hear in movies to represent India. Like, it's very.
I will say, did you get the vibe that it was the Seinfeld strumming on a sitar rather than a guitar? Because that was my vibe on it.
You know
so
what?
At least
that
there was
didn't
that.
even occur to me. I mean, I was just so on red alert for anything possibly offensive. I was like, yeah, of course they have a fucking sitar playing immediately now. Right. But I do like the idea if it's a sitar playing the Seinfeld theme song. That actually is, I can get behind that. That's a pretty fun idea.
I can't believe we went all the way to India for a wedding.
It's my one semester of music comp, but I think it was the same progression.
Okay. You know what? That's cool. I'm into that. Yeah. I'm into that.
Now, now let's look at the other side of the coin.
Yeah, but the other side is sort of like they're, and I'm not surprised that it's like this in the late 90s, because I think even now, I think that a lot of people's views of India are really, I'm trying to think of another word other than just like racist to say, because I know that that's almost reductive at this point to say that. But like, people have a weird fear of India as a place that's just, they treat it, they view India as just sort of like the truest third world country of all third world countries. They make a joke in this episode about it still has the plague and shit.
Yeah.
And like, that's the most like, don't drink the water there. Don't eat the food. Everyone's going to steal from you. Every racist stereotype you could think of. And also, aren't their religions crazy?
Right.
Like everything that you could possibly think of for like a cultural racist stereotype, like kind of gets put on India for whatever reason. And if, I've never been to India myself, but I know plenty of people personally who have spent lots of time in India and have had a wonderful time there. And just as any country, there are problems, but there's also amazing things too.
Yes.
And also I think that a lot of media like this would often treat India as just sort of like the most like zero technology, like treat it like it's like hundreds of years before the modern age kind of thing.
Exactly.
Just like they do with
No.
like shows do with Egypt too sometimes,
Right. Whereas you can see a KFC from the pyramids, like, calm down.
Right. It's like, it's not as underdeveloped as you think it is. It's like
Seriously.
far from it, actually.
not that a KFC should really be our measure of like advancement, but like just know that
Right.
capitalism is
it's-
everywhere.
I know. And it's like, I for all people listening, it's sort of like, yeah, no shit. But like, I think it sort of speaks to where they're coming from in 1997. And I think you still kind of see it now in a lot of
Yeah.
sitcoms. It's an easy humor. You still will see like Indian food. Well, I guess you're going to be shitting forever from that.
Yep.
Like it's a thing just because white people just can't handle like the slightest bit of spice at all, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a frustrating thing to see. And it kind of sucks that it's all over this episode, It
really
And
is.
again, there's jokes in it where I'm like, I get where the joke is coming from. Like, but if it was like, there's an equivalent to it if they were going to like some in the middle of nowhere town in Nebraska and the joke was like, God, even the people who live there are telling you don't come to this town because there's
Right.
nothing here. And, like I get that side of the joke, but as soon as you put it on India, suddenly it becomes racist because there's a very particular reason that you're putting that on India as a country. They don't even say where in India. They're just in India, the country,
In India,
somewhere.
just somewhere, giant country, massive country in the subcontinent, but like just India.
Yeah. Very, very different, like depending on where in India you are, different sort of culture things, just like in, just like the North and South in America are kind of different cultures and different foods and like, different accents and stuff like that. No, here it's just India.
Just India. I think it's the weakest part of this, though. I mean, I think we would have experienced this no matter where they went, because that's the sort of, you do need a foreign place to sell the plot.
Yeah.
And if they went to Tokyo, we would have gotten some Japanese stereotypes.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's just, some of it is the 97 and the Seinfeld of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is this. What I will give like some space for, I guess, not like forgiveness for, but like it's a realistic plot for George to have a bathroom thing. He is a hypochondriac. I don't know how he learned about this plague thing from Elaine's conversation with the parents. That was the thing that hung more for me, that it was like these Indians who are like, we escaped India because it's the worst thing in the world.
Oh, yeah, I hate that.
And that's some like Big Bang Theory Raj shit that like just the worst to like navigate through.
Yeah, and I'm also pretty sure, I know Pinter's actor is not Indian. He's from Iran. The dad, I'm not sure what his heritage is, but he was like born in LA. Like he's not actually like from India himself. I don't know about the mom, because she didn't really have a lot of that actor didn't have a lot of information about her out there. So I'm not 100% positive, but it seems like the people that are voicing the anti-Indian sentiment that are supposed to be like, I'm from India and I think the place sucks, I don't think the actors are even from India. So like, that's not great either,
not great. And then the last thing that I want to do on my soapbox about this is most of the things that are seen negatively in this episode and most of the things you see stereotyped about India are all caused from English colonialism.
Oh, sure.
Overpopulation, poverty, the status of public facilities. These were all made worse by the English. Sorry, English, but you did it. So, and you did it, ironically, for spices that you can't even tolerate eating. So get it together. All right, we did it. We did it, Derek.
Yeah, got that out of the way. I'm probably not going to put an image. I'm trying to think of what the gimmicks image will be because I kind of don't. It also feels weird. Like, is it appropriative if you're in India in an Indian wedding? Like, is it weird that Julia Louis-Dreyfus is wearing that attire? I don't know.
Yes. When we were invited to our neighbor's Indian wedding, we were asked for our sizes if we were going to be able to attend, and they were going to put us in clothes.
So that's pretty culturally
and we were
appropriate for
well, yeah, we were going to do it in Dallas. So like I would have to assume that if someone was flying there, they were going to have their wedding party in traditional outfit.
Okay. Either way, they do all look beautiful. So
they look gorgeous.
They got that going for them, I guess.
Yeah. The actor who played Sue Ellen and Julia Louis-Dreyfus put up a photo of them in costume on their Instagram for the anniversary of this episode. It was really cute.
It's really cute. Yeah.
I mean, it's like a Polaroid. It is like a Polaroid.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we're in India. But of course, we're at the end of the wedding where Sue Ellen is storming out, declaring that the wedding's over, blames Elaine for sleeping with her fiance, Pinter.
What, Sue Ellen? Elaine, you were my maid of honor and you slept with my Pinter? No, it was years ago before you met him. And I gotta tell you, it was very mechanical. I've never been so humiliated. Idiots! This is all your fault!
Me? Him? His fault. He betrayed me.
George, I'm sorry.
Oh, you can stuff your sorries in a sack, mister.
I don't know what that means.
Nina, you have to decide right now. Jerry or me?
All right. Neither.
What? What are you doing here?
A free trip to India. And by the way, you can take off those boots. Everyone knows you're 5'6".
And Elaine blames George. George blames Jerry. And then George demands Nina choose between George and Jerry. This is the first time we're seeing Nina, right, in this episode. Yep. So suddenly there's a girlfriend that's choosing between the two of them. My favorite thing about this is that she does not take a beat where she's sort of like, well, neither. I just wanted a free trip to India.
Love it. Nina, you queen. I loved it. It was so great.
She's great. Yeah.
I love Sue Ellen. She's one of my favorite recurring characters on Seinfeld because Elaine hates her, but Sue Ellen doesn't know it and thinks that they're best friends, and it's the cutest thing in the world to me.
It's so funny. It blew my mind. I was looking, and she's only in like 4 episodes of the show. Like I thought she was in so much more, but I guess she made an impression.
Well, and they're all big like this, where Elaine is like, God, I hate this woman. And then Sue Ellen is like, oh my God, Elaine, let's be besties. Yeah. And then like Elaine relents, but then it's like, oh, you don't wear a bra. And that's a deal breaker for me, but whatever.
It's so stupid because Elaine is the worst person in the world. I love it. You know what? It blew my mind a little bit because, Sue Ellen is played by Brenda Strong, who was, the narrator, I think Mary Alice was her name, on Desperate Housewives, which I watched like the first season and a half of and loved at the time and then fell off of. That show ran for 8 seasons.
Oh my God. Desperate Housewives was for 8 years?
8 years. And she was the narrator through the whole thing.
Good. Listen, good gig if you can get it. That is, do it, girl.
Because that show was so hot. And I thought it was like a burn bright, burn fast, but it's like burn bright and then just like continued dimly burning for 8 fucking years. Like what?
Man, I hope she made good money on that. Listen, narration. It's not easy. It's work, but like,
but not as much work as everyone else on that show was doing, though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But she was like dead in the first episode, right? We actually saw her.
The mystery of the first season was why did she commit suicide? So she still got to appear in like flashbacks and stuff in the first season. But then I guess they just kept her narrating from the afterlife even after they solved that mystery. Which she
got a good voice. She's got a good voice.
Yeah.
At the end of the scene, Sue Ellen is so furious with Elaine that she demands she removes her nose piercing and then helps her do so. And we get commentary from George and Jerry watching Sue Ellen help.
Ooh, that's gotta hurt.
That's gotta hurt no matter where you're from. Just awful line read, Jerry. Just, I don't know why.
That's got to hurt. I don't care where you're from.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You know who's not the best character or actor on this show? the namesake.
There it is. There it is, Derek. There it is. Wow. Well, then we cut to 15 minutes earlier at the wedding. Elaine tells Jerry that she can't remember last night. George and Nina enter, and George is uncomfortable because he hasn't used the restroom. Jerry tries to apologize to George for sleeping with Nina, but George demands reparations to sleep with Elaine. Elaine tries to diffuse George's anger, and he belts out, "You slept with the groom."
Oof. I think it's just very funny how casual everyone is, sort of all like, sleep with Elaine. No, she wouldn't like that. Don't do that.
That's a punish. That's not a punishment for me. That's a punishment for Elaine. That was a good line read. I will give that to Jerry.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, and it is just a very George thing just to be yelling it out. Oh, and the Timberlands painted black. We see that here too, of course, as well.
Right.
And I love that they're not even like well painted. They're like so hastily done. Clearly just Timberlands with some black paint slapped on them. It's really good. It's great.
Yeah. Was this, Derek, do you remember, was this like the era of Timberlands? Because they name drop it enough. I was like, God, was this like the time? And I guess it was.
Yeah, I feel like they were still popular even through like the early 2000s, but this was definitely during the height of them for sure.
Yeah. It was but just every other word was Timberlands, and I was like, they're just boots, gang. Like, calm down. But fine.
Yeah. Then we cut 4 hours earlier back in New York, and this is when we finally actually get the start of Kramer's story, where he's in front of a brick wall, gets hit by a snowball. He walks over to FDR, played by Michael McShane, and then he's like, "Thank you, FDR," as he hugs him. I love FDR. I love Michael McShane. He's like one of those character actors that, like, if you don't know the name, which I never remember what his name is, but then you see his face, you're like, oh, I've seen him in 1,000 things.
Thousands of things. But for me, it's always Friar Tuck from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, whichever one he was in.
Wait, is that the comedy one or the Kevin Costner
not
one?
The Kevin Costner one.
Okay, so it is Prince of Thieves for that one.
Not the fun one, sadly.
Yeah.
But he is really hot in the Kevin Costner one.
He's pretty hot in general.
He's pretty hot here. I mean, but a friar is doing things for me that I can't explain and need therapy about. Forbidden, right?
Yeah, some religious trauma there, I'm sure.
Well, we get a cut then to 1 hour earlier, and we see Kramer and the man from the previous scene, FDR, both grasping a wishbone between them.
All right, FDR. This wish is for all the marbles. You win, you get your wish, I drop dead. I win, I don't drop dead. And I get 100% anti-drop dead protection. Forever.
All right. Kramer lays out the stakes for the wishbone. If he wins, he doesn't drop dead and gets drop dead immunity. But if his friend FDR wins, he gets his wish and Kramer drops dead. FDR wins and Kramer tries to bargain with him. And that's when FDR pulls out a cooler and reveals a snowball inside. Again, Kramer's not my favorite by any means, but I do think Richards' like fear of the snowball is good stake setting in this scene.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I rag on Kramer because he's just like the broad comedy guy. But like Michael Richards, you know, for his many flaws, I think in real life, I think he's you know, I think he there's a reason that this character was such a breakout, because he is really good at the big facial expressions and the comedic timing. And
that's
I think
what it is.
That's the only reason that the storyline, I think, works, because he treats it with such like literal life or death importance in this case, despite how silly it is. And that's what always makes a Kramer story work, I think.
Yeah. And then just a fun little note, the snowball that hits Kramer was actually thrown by Michael McShane. The production assistant who was originally throwing it wasn't throwing it hard enough, and Michael McShane did it for some reason. They ended up being like friends. I
was reading that, you know, I think Michael McShane, I think he got along with the cast really well, but it was Michael Richards that was like really cold to him. Yeah. I've always read that he was like one of the divas on set. Like it was like very serious actor. Kramer's the, you know, most important role of our lifetime. And so I think that he was kind of getting some of that. And so he was kind of able to throw some of his frustration towards Michael Richards out in that snowball. which I guess literally broke the ice with them because I think they were friendly after that. So
Yeah, I like that.
yeah.
Well, we get another title card. It's the night before. We're back in India. We see our elephant friend for the last time. And a very drunk Elaine tells Jerry that George knows he slept with Nina.
How did he find out?
He schnapped me.
You know you're not supposed to drink while you're keeping a secret. Is there anything else?
I can't tell you.
Here, drink this.
I slept with the groom.
Pinter?
He used to be called Peter.
So, who cares about that?
Sue Ellen. She knew she'd call off the whole wedding.
Oh, nobody's calling off any weddings. All right, it's time to go. Come on, up.
You know what Jerry is in Indian?
No, what?
Jagdish.
Yes, jug dish.
Hey, what if I got my nose pierced? That would be pretty freaky.
Yes, I think it's a fine idea. Well, good night.
Good night, Jagdish.
Favorite line of this? He schnapped me. So good. So good. She is amazing at playing a drunk. She's so funny. Because it's not as easy as you think to play drunk in a way that doesn't feel like over the top or just like inscrutable. She's so fucking good at playing a funny drunk. In a very particular way. Just the way that, like, I think it's towards the end. Yeah, I think it's towards the end because she starts calling Jerry Jugdish.
Yeah.
Because she was just like, Jerry is Indian for Jugdish, which certainly not true, but it's a funny thing that like drunk Elaine would say.
Absolutely.
And so she just starts calling him Jugdish, and then just the maniacal laugh that she gives him when she's trying to send her to bed. Incredible. She's so good.
Even the physical acting here, when she puts her butt up in the air, I howled. It's just Julia Louis-Dreyfus at her like best right here in this moment.
There's a reason that she has like more Emmys than like I think any performer in history. I think is what it is. I don't think I'm exaggerating. Like she has like 8 of them, and I don't think any other actor has ever gotten that many Emmys before.
It's too many.
They're very deserved, though.
Yeah, they are very deserved. I will say that they got the math right. This is how drunk you would be if you drank 9 bottles of schnapps. I did the math. Her blood alcohol concentration would be about a 0.18.
Sure. Yeah.
About double the legal limit.
Not a schnapps fan, really.
No, really.
Yeah. I think it's just they're just too sweet. I think it's too much sugar. It's like that is a bad hangover waiting to happen even if you don't drink very much. But schnapps as a small part of a mixed cocktail makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, there really should be a flourish. They're like a bitter. Like you wouldn't just drink bitters.
Yeah. But I guess if you have a sweet tooth and don't like the taste of alcohol, I guess they're perfect for you.
Yeah. I will say that schnapps is a funny word.
It's a very funny word.
So that's why I think you see it in sitcoms a lot. Like sitcom characters love drinking schnapps because it's funny to say.
That, you know what? I'm here for it. That totally makes sense.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. And then there's a funny little cut where we have this is one of the cases where it's like this would not make any sense if you're playing it forward. This only works because of the backwards thing. Because we get to like 1 hour earlier where Jerry's just saying bless you as he hands Elaine a drink, and then it just cuts to 3 seconds earlier with Elaine sneezing as Jerry's just about to pour the drink. It's so stupid. It's so basic. But like there aren't that many jokes like this in the episode. Right. They're just lightly sprinkled in. So when you do come upon them, they're hysterically funny because they just kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah. It is sort of like they found the right hit point on this because if you had done even, I think, one more, I would have been out of the theater.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, come on. Yeah.
It was a perfect touch. And I either forgot about this or I don't know, but this got probably like, I just howled. This is
because it's not even, there isn't a joke there. Like, it's just a scene playing out where she sneezes. The joke is that you were just, isn't it funny that you're seeing him say bless you before you see her sneeze? Like, that's all it is. You can only do it with the backward structure, but like that makes it funny, you know?
Well, the edit is timed so well, but by the time your brain is like, why is he saying bless you? You get the sneeze. That's, I think, what sells it. It's so good.
Right. Totally. So we cut to 2 hours earlier in New York again. Kramer comes to buy a hot dog from FDR, telling him that he wished on a shooting star that he wouldn't drop dead, but FDR also wished on that star that he would. So then they start tossing coins into a fountain and pulling out eyelashes to wish against each other.
This works because the two of them are so silly. But just looking on a piece of paper, I was like, this is the worst plot ever.
It's not great. It's not a great plot, but the two of them sell it.
Yeah.
And make
and him with his little coin dispenser, just like throwing coins in the fountain with like reckless abandon is hilarious.
Yeah, it is very funny. It's just funny that like this show is so complicated and deals with like adult shit and like sex and stuff. And then Kramer's plots are always like out of a 9-year-old show, you know, like this would be out of a cartoon or like a Disney Channel sitcom or these plots. It's just so funny.
Yeah. Well, we then come back to India. It's 3 hours earlier. Jerry, Elaine, George, and Nina have arrived. Sue Ellen sees Elaine and is so happy to see her. No one else was willing to come to the wedding, not even Pinter's parents. Elaine tries to convince her that they're enemies, but Sue Ellen invites Elaine to be her best friend and maid of honor. And this is where Sue Ellen introduces her fiancé, and Elaine recognizes him. Jerry asks Elaine why George was so weird on the flight and teases her with a bottle of schnapps.
Then instead of following up on that, we instead cut to the night before in New York, where Kramer is wishing on a shooting star on a roof. Right? This is the one where he's just yelling to it. Like, I'm not going to drop dead. And then everyone else in the buildings are telling him to drop dead.
I wish I don't drop dead! Hey, shut up there! You shut up! Drop dead!
And again, it doesn't look that impressive because I think we've seen a lot of television, but like that was an expensive shot because you're tilting down, you're high up for 3 seconds of him like wishing on a shooting star. We are in Hubrisville for budget here. Truly and honestly.
Yeah, I wonder if they like had, because
there must have been a roof set. Like somebody else must have had one. Like people are on roofs in sitcoms all the time.
Yeah, for a very brief scene. You're right. It is a lot to do for one brief quick scene. And they talk about that in the oral history too. That like a lot of this episode, like scenes are just a lot shorter than they normally would be in a regular Seinfeld episode because of these quick cuts and joke payoffs. So like, there probably are just more scenes, period, than any other Seinfeld episode, just because of how short they are. Which means that anytime you do something with like that would be a slightly complex camera setup, you're doing that for like a 30-second sequence.
Right, which is wild. Again, just because the last thing we talked about for Seinfeld was the Chinese restaurant where you didn't have any money and you were doing this on a shoestring.
Right.
Well, then on the plane, it's 5 hours earlier, somewhere between New York and India. George talks to Jerry on the flight, rubbing it in hard that they have no secrets from each other.
And what better way to pass the time than gabbing with my best friend, with whom there are no secrets. Like this, since 4th grade.
Hey, didn't I beat you up in 4th grade?
Funny guy! Right here!
By the way, you never said anything to George about Jerry and me, did you?
Oh, please, it's in the vaults.
Jerry Seinfeld's a funny guy!
I like just George saying, funny guy! And the thing is, like, it was funny the first time because of like Jason Alexander's delivery as always, but then they keep doing it and it just like it keeps happening, and they cut to Nina and Elaine and you still overhear him from the front of the plane just saying, what a funny guy.
Yeah, it's great. Again, it's sort of this like do nothing scene because we know what happens, but it's fun to watch. I mean, it's fun to watch Jason Alexander do almost anything. It's fun to watch him. He's already got the math done and he's trying to get an answer from his best friend about this and it hasn't come yet.
Yeah. Then 1 hour earlier, still on the plane. I love this. This is so ridiculous. Because we get like this progression of backwards events.
What time is it?
You just asked me 2 minutes ago.
Hey, what time is it?
I'm not wearing a watch.
Is this tooth chipped?
Yeah. How'd you do that?
I have no idea.
Watch this. Oh, God.
Because Elaine goes to Jerry asking him what time it is. And he's like, Elaine, you asked me 2 minutes ago. Cut to 2 minutes earlier, where Elaine is, of course, asking Jerry what time it is. And he's like, I'm not wearing a watch. And then she just, total non sequitur, doesn't even respond to that. She says, is this chip tooth? And he's like, yeah, how'd you do that? I don't remember how. And then cuts to a day earlier where Elaine's holding a bottle in her fucking mouth, like, watch this, and then flips it up to just drink it, like, without hands, basically. It's such a fun, stupid progression of ridiculous events. And also just how annoying must Elaine be to be constantly asking another person what time it is? Like, well, come on, wear a fucking watch. You're on a plane.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to know this?
Although, counterpoint, how fucking annoying of Jerry not to be like, I already told you I don't have a watch. He's like, I told you 2 minutes ago. I mean, it's paused off for the joke. Because
funny.
Again, it's so funny that the repeat is not him telling her the time, but saying, I don't wear a watch.
That is actually really, I didn't even think about that. But that does make it funnier. Because it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't just tell her that I don't wear a watch.
Yeah. Still no watch, bitch. Like, that's what I would have said.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But of course, Elaine has already told George everything. So we get a great drunk act of her being like, you'll get nothing out of me. And then George being like, I already got it. I'm done. I got it. I don't need anything more from you.
Yeah, it's great. So we have to 30 minutes earlier in Newman's apartment when Kramer is confronting Newman, saying that they had a deal. Who knows what the deal is yet? Kramer accuses Newman of wasting his birthday wish, but Newman's model girlfriend, who is not named, played by Jocelyn Kelly. Is that anyone who's done anything? Do you know?
She was a model on Just Shoot Me. She's been a model on other sitcoms. That's like her thing.
But you know what? They basically got an actual model for this. That's funny.
Well, it's interesting, Derek. I think she was an actor who just booked a lot of model roles. And now she's a real estate agent. So like,
that is
good,
hilarious.
Good for you, Jocelyn. I think she was maybe a little typecast when she was on TV.
Sure. Either way, he alludes to just like he basically is alluding that, like, I used my last wish as well, and he's got this hot girlfriend, so apparently he wished for a hot girlfriend. Which the payoff to this joke is really, really funny when we get to it. I also think it's very, very funny that, like, Kramer's like, does your girlfriend have to be here? And Newman's like, does yours? And and like, it's a stupid joke, like a stupid sitcom joke. What makes it funny is the slow pan over to Jerry, who you realize is also just like sitting on the edge of the couch, just looking disgusted.
He hates him. It's so, you're right. It is the pan that makes that joke happen.
Yeah. Because you literally don't know that he's in the scene until they just pan over and realize that Jerry's just been sitting there just looking with like stink face the entire time and says nothing, basically.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I loved Newman. I was one of those guys who was also like into Newman, not just because of Wayne Knight, but also just like I love a little scoundrel, and that's what Newman was.
He's good at playing just like ridiculous over the top villain. It's so good.
Yeah. Although, I don't know, to me, it's him on Third Rock from the Sun was like, that's where I fell in love with him.
Sure.
Yeah, my cop thing. We then get a cut. It's 15 minutes earlier. We're in Jerry's apartment. Elaine comes in with plane tickets for the group that she just bought out of spite in response to an invitation from Sue Ellen.
Here's your plane ticket.
What are you talking about?
Sue Ellen sends me an invitation 1 week before her wedding in India. I'll show her.
By flying halfway around the world?
Spite never sleeps.
Especially when you got a layover in Sarajevo.
Hey.
Here, you're going to India with us tomorrow.
For how long?
3 days.
Great.
We have to talk about the spite, Derek. We simply must talk about the spite.
Okay.
I love that Elaine is the kind of person who would buy 4 round-trip international tickets out of spite.
Yeah, it's also funny that she's just like, yeah, of course all of my friends are coming with me to this spite wedding that I'm going to too. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love that idea. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just sort of like when you first see it, I don't think you realize how insane that is. Like she's doing all of this. Because that's just like so typical of this show. Yeah. But then when you really think about it, it's just sort of like the sheer hatred you have to spend this much money to go to a wedding that you think that you're not invited to is ridiculous. It's pure evil.
And there's this weird, like, I don't know if it's like an anti-joke or whatever. It stuck out to me. It's George goes, for how long? And Elaine goes 3 days. And he's like, oh, okay. Like that made an international trip of this tenure somehow palatable that it was 3 days.
That actually is, it's kind of weird, but funny.
It's kind of like, why? But okay, it was just, that's Seinfeld for you. It's just, sometimes it's that weird thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in the rest of the scene, George has thanked Jerry for setting him up with Nina, and Elaine shares a look with him because she knows something. Mm-hmm. Kramer comes in quickly, and Elaine invites him to come with them, but he can't. He's going to drop dead. And this is great because George declares that Nina can go, and that's how Nina ends up going.
Yeah. And Jerry's like, I gotta go. And then that's how he ends up at Newman's randomly later because he's just escaping this awkward situation of having slept with Nina. And so George is sort of like, George can tell that Elaine knows something because she reacts to Jerry reacting to the situation, which is how he gets the idea to be like, I know the key to your vault, and then retrieves a bottle of peach schnapps from Jerry's apartment.
Yep. The massive wall of cereal.
The massive wall of cereal, of course.
I wish that's the thing that everyone should have in their house.
True. I agree.
We get a cut for 30 minutes earlier. We're on the street. Kramer sees Newman in a convertible with a beautiful woman who is enamored with him reciting facts about the mail. And Kramer deduces that this must have been a birthday wish.
It's so funny. It's so good. Yeah. I love that means that like they really have like just gotten together so rapidly quickly. It's so good.
Yeah. And just how into it that she is when he's like certified mail is or whatever it was. She's like hanging on his every word like it's important. Not mail delivery is important, but it's not necessarily
it's
the
not
thing I think
sexy
about.
to talk about
yeah.
it usually.
Yeah.
I guess it could depend on who's talking to you about it, but
that's fair.
The subjects themselves usually aren't very sexy.
Yeah.
Then we get to one day earlier in Newman's apartment where Newman and his co-workers from the post office are celebrating his birthday. I fucking love this take because Kramer, he's about to blow out his candles. Kramer comes through the door and the fucking overwrought like thing that Newman does, that Wayne Knight does, where he's like almost choking on his own breath from the surprise of Kramer coming in and interrupting his birthday wish is so fucking ridiculous. The take is so big. It's so good.
It is. It's like he'll never breathe again is what you think in this moment. It is just so funny.
Yeah. And Kramer's basically there to just like trade birthday wishes with him because he needs this birthday wish. They negotiate. I think Newman agrees to what, like his like last 48 birthday wishes
49 and then they're both like sucker because Newman came in at 50 and Kramer was like 48 and they met in the middle at 49. I just like that too. I like that they're both like kind of idiots.
Yeah. But so they agree to it, but Newman does make this one last wish. And the moment before he blows out the candles, he sees a model on the cover of Vogue, who of course is the model that has magically become his girlfriend right after this.
It's just hilarious.
It's such a good reveal.
So funny.
It's so good.
And I've also got to say, like the cut right before he blows out the candles it's such an artistic choice that doesn't need to be made, but it is so well conceived.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we then get another cut. It's another day earlier. We're in Jerry's apartment and Elaine comes in rambling about the wedding invitation she got from Sue Ellen, believing that the invite is a bait for her to get a gift. Jerry is trying desperately to get rid of her, but it's too late. Nina comes out and Elaine connects the dots.
Well, this mishky mishmash is just getting worse. I talked to the groom's parents, and it is so obvious that they don't want me to go.
Sure.
The only reason she sent me an invitation was so I'd send her a gift. Jerry?
Well, coffee grinder is nice, or a coffee maker. Everyone likes coffee. Anything to do with coffee. Maybe you should go get some coffee.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh, I should,
Sure.
Oh my God, whatever they're doing, the choice that they made, because Jerry grabs Elaine and is sort of like, I don't get her a coffee maker or something. That's always a great gift. But they're like slowly being lowered. They're lowering each other to the ground because he's trying to like push her out, but she's like, I guess, like, you know, like planted to the ground because she doesn't want to leave and knows something is weird. I don't understand how they get to like, of course our bodies are going to slowly lower to a crouch position, but like it somehow works. Like, I don't understand why it's happening, but it is hilarious to see that they're like both almost fully to the ground when Nina comes out.
Yeah, it's almost like Elaine is deploying passive resistance. She's like,
yeah,
I will not be moved. But I just have to, but just to rant about this wedding invitation, because she does not stop. This is a tirade. And I think that's also like what makes this so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jerry tells her that the reason they slept together is because there was an awkward moment of conversation and demands she keeps it a secret. Elaine promises to keep it in the vault, but everyone knows the combination for that. Jerry opens the drawer and discovers that it's full of Fruit Loops and milk.
This is so stupid. It's funny, but it's so stupid. Because then they just immediately cut to 30 minutes earlier where Kramer is in Jerry's apartment. He's making a bowl of Fruit Loops. And when Jerry's like, hello, off screen, Kramer like, you know, misses the bowl, overfills it, makes a mess. And, you know, and then just immediately like just sweeps it with his whole ass arm into that drawer, cereal and milk all together. It's so stupid. But It's so funny because it's so stupid. Exactly.
And again, it's one of those things that was probably like a little expensive to get right because like this isn't like a real cabinet. This is the set. So
sure. They have to make sure that it can like withhold milk in it.
Exactly. It's just one of those weird things that like, again, we just hubris. We're just spending money.
Yeah. Yeah.
We cut to 1 hour earlier and we're at the Ranawat's apartment. Elaine has gone over to talk to Pinter's family. They insist she not go to the wedding and instead give Elaine a gift registry. And on her way out, Zubin, Pinter's father, tells her that if she goes to India, he wouldn't use the bathroom the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the rougher ones where they're literally calling India like a dreadful, dreadful place and stuff like that. But for the sake of the comedy, I do appreciate the mechanics of the comedy. I wish it wasn't about India and rooted in like very racist stereotypes, but the broad comedy structure of Elaine genuinely thinks that they're just manipulating her and playing a game to get her to just give them a gift and not go to the wedding. But they are being for real and truly do hate the country that they come from, and she just misinterprets that they're being real with her.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they had been like, I can't believe our asshole son only invited us a week beforehand. What kind of nut job would get on a plane with only 1 week's notice and fly all the way to India?
Sure,
because then that would help communicate that Elaine is insane.
In general, destination weddings are kind of like famously a thing that people get annoyed about. Yeah. So like it doesn't even need to be the short time frame thing. It can really just be like, I can't believe we have to buy these fucking plane tickets to go to a wedding. Like, what are you doing? All of your friends and family live here. Why would you make us do this? Like, that's enough to be funny, you know? But
and then list off a funny sounding gift that you would get a couple for being married and be like, we sent them a fondue pot, they're taken care of, you can have our gift registry. And she could still then connect the dots and be like, oh, this motherfucker wants me to buy a gift. Hell no, I'm spite woman.
Yeah. No, but we had to be racist about it. So
yeah, we gotta be racist.
Whatever. 30 minutes earlier, cut to Jerry's apartment where Jerry and Nina are having a great conversation. You know, they both are like just in sync with each other, and then get to a point where they comment. Like, it's so funny. Like, we're so in sync that we never have any awkward pauses. I guess that's why we never hooked up, is that there's never been an awkward pause, which creates an awkward pause, and that makes them hook up immediately.
Yeah, and I replayed this a couple times. Michelle does the most with this acrobatic leap onto this countertop, and Jerry's just kind of there, and that's about right for Jerry and his girlfriends.
Yeah, it's good.
And then we get this fun little sequence with Kramer. It's one day earlier. We're at FDR's apartment. Kramer is at the apartment with a mostly eaten lollipop, and FDR confirms he wants him to drop dead. 10 minutes earlier, we're at Jerry's apartment, and Jerry tells Kramer that FDR couldn't have possibly wanted him to drop dead, and there's a little bit more lollipop. 10 minutes earlier, we're back at FDR's apartment, and he tells Kramer, nope, I want you to drop dead, and I used my birthday wish to do it. And we've got an almost unstarted lollipop. And then finally, 10 minutes earlier, with a full lollipop, Kramer comes into Jerry's apartment to tell George and Jerry that FDR gave him the evil eye.
It is like one of those comically large lollipops that honestly would probably take more than 30 minutes to eat all of. Yeah. I remember like, you know, because they look so good on cartoons and like you see it as a kid, it looks amazing. I remember having these as a kid, like getting one from the fair. They usually taste disgusting. They're just like unflavored sugar. And it's like you just feel sick after like a couple of bites because it's so fucking huge. Yeah. So these things like make me want to throw up whenever I see them now, to be honest, but they're pretty.
Yeah. If you all haven't seen this is like the good ship lollipop. Like it's a lolly. It's a comical lolly.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we have Elaine come in and tell them that she got an invite to Sue Ellen's wedding in India in 1 week, and it's sort of like it's an invite, it's an invitation. I fucking love that Seinfeld speak.
It did feel like we were trying to make something happen here, and I was like, an invitation never caught on the way other speak from this show caught on.
Sure, but you know, I appreciate them always trying.
Yeah. George then asks Jerry to set him up with Nina. George just wants to confirm, hey, you never slept with her, right? And he's like, no, I've never slept with her because that hasn't happened yet.
And this is like George is wearing his Timberland boots in the scene. Like Elaine even comments like, hey, you taller? I must say, Jason Alexander, slightly taller in that blue t-shirt and jeans, hands on his hips. There. Oh my goodness gracious.
That should be the episode art is Jason Alexander in that blue t-shirt. That so was everything in my life.
Hot. Holy fuck.
Because it was like a little cold on set, so you got a little bit of nipple pointing out.
Oh boy. It
was everything.
Like, showing off them curves in the way that I want them to be, man. Looks great.
Which is funny, because for as good as he looks, you're about to get an awful line, which is that his stomach is upset, and we cut to them in the diner with him ordering clams casino.
Oh my God. You know what? Points, they have an episode where there's a lot of stereotypes about India. They don't make a joke about Indian food making the stomach upset. It's clams casino. I'll give them points for not going to that well.
Right. That's a good point. And to order that at a diner, but he does say the chef recommended it, so it's okay.
Yeah. And also during that scene, you know, George is asking Jerry why he never slept with Nina. It's because there's never an awkward pause. And then George has a revelation.
Wait a minute. Nina just saw me in my Timberlands. Now I have to wear them every time I see her.
Why?
In any other shoe, I lose 2 inches. I can't have a drop down. We were eye to eye. I can't go eye to chin.
So you're gonna wear them no matter what the situation?
In every situation, no matter how silly I look. Tastes a little funky.
Oh, I'm sure it's fine.
And it's funny that like he never thinks of like stuffing his shoes or something like that. It's like, I just have to wear these specific shoes everywhere, all the time, no matter where I go.
Right. I think just to like lay it on like a thick layer of mayonnaise, he's even like, no matter how ridiculous it looks, I will wear these shoes.
Yes. Yeah. They lay it on thick. You're right.
Yeah. And then we are like not wasting time. These scenes go so fast from here. We get a 30 minutes earlier. We're in FDR's apartment, and all that happens here is FDR gives Kramer the stink eye.
But it's so good though. Oh my God. The acting of the stink eye and then the aggressive blow and that creepy like half smirk that he gives him after he blows up the candles, like completely like, you know, just it's all facial acting and body language. So fucking
it's
good
so
though,
good.
man.
It's so good. But again, we're like dressing the set and filling it with extras for 10-15 seconds. Just incredible.
Yeah, that's true. There's 2 birthday parties and a wedding all filled with extras in this episode. That's pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah. And then it's 10 minutes earlier. We're on the street. George and Jerry bump into Nina. And this is where we start to get the opening title credits in reverse of their usual order, which is fun.
You know, that's actually interesting, too, because the cast members are listed in reverse order too, aren't they?
So, and Michael Richards shows up before anything else.
Yeah. And like that, honestly, like, that's actually really interesting because oftentimes that's casting order. It often causes big hullabaloo in shows and movies. And like, that's stuff that's like in contract of like where your names are allowed to appear in credits, which is why, you know, credits in some things, you're sort of like, why the fuck is this person billed so high and this person billed so low? That makes no sense. Like watch Avengers Endgame. Those end credits will make your brain melt. They make no goddamn sense, the order they go in. And it's because of the ridiculous finagling they did with, you know, with contracts with actors and who agreed to come back based on where they could be billed and stuff. So it's honestly pretty cool that they were able to pull it off of reversed order of the main cast credits in this.
Well, And I think longtime listeners of Gimmicks will know that this is like a passion area for mine, but I couldn't find anything written about this one in particular.
Yeah.
There's a lot written about this episode, and this is normally a thing that you get a little bit of blurb on, and there was nothing anywhere. So
Yeah.
I like to believe that by season 9 and the amount of money they were getting paid, everyone was just like, cool. But
yeah. Like, hey, can we do this? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm glad that no one was sort of like, negotiate with my agent.
No. Wow.
If I'm now being listed first, maybe I should get paid more money than Jerry Seinfeld, you know?
It's interesting because of all the people, I would assume Jerry would be the one to be the biggest crank about it. But, as executive producer, he showed up first. So he should be fine.
Yeah.
And then, as Derek mentioned, we get to the quote opening scene, which is the end scene. We're at Elaine's apartment. We're at her mailbox. She's opening the mail and sees the invite to India and scoffs at it. And then we get the title card for Seinfeld on the screen.
You know what? I think it's a real genius move for this episode to have this sort of addendum after this, because if they really truly ended this episode with the very first scene, this would be a real bummer of an ending of the episode. Like, it would have been like cool experience, but then it'd be like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
Because, it just stops. We're not getting any tag or anything like that afterwards because it'd be backwards. So I think it's a really smart idea to come up with the idea of like going further backwards in time beyond this whole episode after this.
Yeah. And honestly, it pays off for me, at least.
It does.
in
It
spades.
1000% does. I think these last two scenes really make this episode go from like cool concept to like kind of a masterpiece by the end of it, because it's so fucking smart.
We do get a title card. It's 2 years earlier. We're in the diner. Jerry and Nina are getting dinner as she describes email, and Jerry just doesn't get it. And again, this is just like really funny.
And they call it the World Wide Web. You can email anyone.
What are you, a scientist?
I gotta go. It's great talking.
Great talking to you. What the hell is email?
How was the date?
Pretty good. I think she might be the one.
No.
Oh, French fries.
George.
Baked potato. Sorry.
Yeah, you stuff your sorries in a sack, mister.
Hey. Yeah. Check it out, man. It's packing tight.
What are you bringing snowballs in here for?
I need some water. Ice it up nice and hard. Then when you throw it...
Well, look, there's my friend FDR. I'm going to nail him in the back of the head. It's going to be great.
George and holy shit, I screamed, Susan come in because of course, like Susan's still around.
Yeah, because this 2 years earlier would be in season 7 when George and Susan are together before she's fucking died. And what's funny is I read that like Heidi Swedberg, she had cut her hair at this point, so she's wearing a wig in this scene to look more like Susan. So again, another like just spending money on this one. They had to craft an entire fucking wig for this one like 30-second sequence to bring back this guest actor who probably wasn't cheap to bring back considering she'd been on the show for so long.
Exactly.
Like she was asking for more than a regular guest star rate for this, you know?
Yeah. But it's so worth it because she's just Susan. She's the same Susan you've always known. She's sort of criticizing George. He apologizes to her. And this is where we get the term stuff your sorries in a sack. And that's what George has been using the whole episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So good that finally, because I'd even forgotten about that. And so the fact that pays off, not within the episode, but within a 2 years earlier flashback to an earlier season now that we've created. Fucking love that. Kramer comes in, he's making a snowball, which he's going to use to hit his friend FDR with. So that's the start. That's why FDR, has a grudge against him. It's from 2 fucking years ago. And then they have Elaine coming with Pinter, who is still Peter at this point. Elaine smartly, has her curls that she would have had more in season 7, rather than the straight hairstyle she had in this episode. And she comes in and they're sort of like, let's get out of here. And then turns around and leaves. With Peter / Pinter.
Good catch on the curls, Derek, because I did not notice that, except that I was like, oh, this is earlier Elaine, but I didn't quite grasp why. And that makes me think like, wow, these boys, you really don't have to do anything to them. They're just the same all 9 seasons, but Elaine had hairstyles.
Yeah. They had to completely redo her hair for that one sequence. It's so funny.
Money. And then we get the last cut, the last scene. It's 11 years earlier, and Jerry is moving into his apartment. He meets Kramer and calls him Kessler. Of course, that's a nod to the pilot episode when that was the character's name.
Hey, how you doing? Oh, hi. I'm Jerry Seinfeld. I'm moving in.
I saw your name on the buzzer. You must be Kessler. No, actually, it's Kramer. Do you need any help? Or?
No, thanks. But I ordered a pizza. You want some of it?
No. I couldn't impose.
Why not? We're neighbors. What's mine is yours.
Really?
And Jerry makes the mistake of inviting Kramer to come and share food, saying, "What's mine is yours."
So funny. So they even like were able to like fix the continuity error.
Yeah.
Because they just sort of like, oh yeah, that's my name on the buzzer or whatever. So Jerry just thinks that's his name by accident for a second. It's so funny. Kramer's hair is like the, it's not the Kramer hair. It's like more combed down and everything.
Yeah.
Like it was
it's got
in the early
it has
episodes.
product in it. Like this is product hair. Like there is gel or something going on here.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it's sort of like the sort of inception for Kramer's whole deal on the show, the why he just can show up in his apartment all the time. It's so cool. So it gets to go back to the show's roots. What a fucking smart, and it's just a little present for the fans, but it like lets this episode end on a higher note despite technically having a reverse trajectory. It's so smart.
Yeah. God, Derek, I loved talking through this episode. It was a little funny because I was just watching it. And I think it was the millstone of the indie of it all did make me kind of be like, oh God, are we really going to do this? But really digging into what I loved about the techniques that were used in this made me appreciate this so much more.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing, I think when you obviously won't get the Castle Rock thing, but they have one like title screen after it goes with some copyright shit on it. And we hear Elaine saying, "Good night, Jugdish." Just they play that audio clip one more time at the very end of it, which is really funny.
It's so great.
Yeah.
It's great because Julie Louis-Dreyfus is just to die for.
Yeah. But I agree with you. I think, India stuff notwithstanding, which is it's an important part of the episode, but it's not present in the episode the entire time. It's only kind of a small section of it. And I think that you can kind of, you can acknowledge that, but then also appreciate that like this episode is such a fucking
masterpiece.
Well, it's so masterfully well structured. Like, again, I think it's got to be challenging to really do something like this and let it actually be funny and satisfying. There's so many roadblocks they could have hit into, and it's fascinating reading the oral histories and like, and realizing that it's like, it was challenging, but this episode could have so easily been an absolute fucking mess to do. But I guess because they were in season 9, it's kind of a pretty well-oiled machine at this point. I imagine if they tried to do this in like season 3 or something, it probably would have been a lot harder to pull it off.
Yeah.
But by this point, it's just sort of like, yeah, they can do it. They can fucking do anything by this point in the show. Why not?
They did note that it took a little longer to get this one filmed, but I have to assume that's just the sheer number of people that were being wrangled.
Right. And number of scenes in general.
Yeah.
Too,
Yeah. That's a good point.
Too.
Number of scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we were in a lot of sets. We were in like the wedding, the plane. It's just a lot of fucking sets in this
multiple
one too.
different apartments.
For birthdays,
the rooftop, outside. They have a few outside scenes in this. Like really everywhere you could possibly be, and the diner, everywhere you could be in a Seinfeld episode, they are. Like it's yeah. They went hard on this one, man, but paid off. It's a classic for a reason.
I didn't even think about it, Derek, but they would have had to strike Jerry's apartment for that last scene.
Oh my God. Because it's just moving in.
It's completely empty.
And there's so much shit. Like that's not an empty minimalist set. There's so much shit on that set.
Oh wow. And again, maybe I'll do some digging and I'll post to Twitter if I find something, but like I would have just built a new set.
Honestly, yeah, at that point. You just use one of the other apartment sets that they have. Yeah. Although do you think that like Newman's apartment and FDR's apartment, like, is that a different apartment set, or do you think they just redress Jerry's set all the time?
No. They were definitely different than Jerry's set.
Okay.
And I think they were different from each other too. But really? I did recognize FDR's from Friends. So it was definitely like a set I have seen before on other sitcoms.
That's just, fucking wild. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely see the effort on screen for this one, which is not often, so it's cool to watch an episode and be like, I could tell you worked hard on this one and paid off. Good episode of TV.
I think it paid off. I think it was really, really good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thanks, folks, for listening. If you would like to hear more about my thoughts when I'm stranded on a layover at Sarajevo, you can find me online anywhere at dmuma22. And I do a couple other podcasts here with the Glitterjaw Network. One is called Are You My Mother? We're starting up season 2. Derek will be on to talk about Sarah Connor. And we're talking about mothers in media. And then my friends Marilee and Tyler are dragging me into the horror genre, and we talk about a different entity therein every other week on Fear Coded. You can find both of those wherever you find your podcasts. Derek, what about you?
Sure. You can hear more of my stories about having knives thrown at me on stage. I'm at most places at Derek B. Gale. I have a couple other podcasts I do with my friend Doug. I do Walloping Web Snappers, which is a Spider-Man podcast where we do deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. And with him, I also do Screonk, which is a Godzilla movie marathon where we're stomping through Godzilla's filmography. And then I also have Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, which I do with my friend Tommy, where we are looking at the Simpsons tie-in video games chronologically. We include video game history, pop culture history, and history of the Simpsons as well. Gimmicks is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective, so if you're looking for other queer media podcasts, you can check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com.
And if you want to support this show by giving us a little tip, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmickspod. You can also follow the podcast at gimmickspod on Twitter and Instagram, and email us your questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmickspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all podcast platforms. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
This could be the death of a soul. Could be the rise and the fall. And we through what went on. Couldn't put my soul back together again. The newspaper said Harold Pinter is dead. I've got the homecoming blues again.
He schnapped me.